Welcome friends, welcome back to Cocktails After Dark. Today we're going to make the sidecar. The sidecar is generally held up as one of the 6 base cocktails. But if we want to talk about the sidecar, we have to first look at the Brandy Crusta. Because all of the people that say that the sidecar is one of the 6 original or the 6 base cocktails all say, but it comes from the Brandy Crusta. So, the Brandy Crusta was first published in the 1860s in the Jerry Thomas Bar Manual. This copy is from 1887, same recipe as the earlier 1860s version. And it starts out kind of different than any other cocktail in this cocktail manual because it talks about garnishing the glass. And so many of the cocktails in the 1880s, there was no garnish, maybe a little bit of an orange peel, but that's it. So Jerry tells me to start out with a small cocktail glass like this, rub the outside with lemon, and we dip the glass into sugar so that we get a nice sugar rim on the outside. And then take a long lemon peel and stick it inside the glass. And so we'll just set that aside while we build the cocktail. So, if this is a shaken cocktail, and we're going to start out, he asks for 3 or 4 dashes of gum syrup. So I have a 2-to-1 ratio gum syrup here. This is going to be a sweet cocktail, I think. Put that in first. And next, Jerry asks for a dash of Boker's Bitters. So I'm going to put in 1 dash of Boker's Bitters. Now I think Boker's Bitters is significant here. Boker's Bitters, they stopped making them in 1920. This is reproduction, so it's not exactly Boker's Bitters, but Boker's Bitters has bitter orange as one of the major flavor components. So a lot of later recipes use Angostura and then a dash of orange bitters, and then some of them just even later just switch to totally Angostura. I think the orange bitters might be a big part of this cocktail. Okay, the next component is 2 dashes of Curacao, and Curacao is a bitter orange liqueur. So we'll put that in. We're looking for 1 dash of lemon juice. Put that in. Jerry then asks for brandy. So I've got an American brandy because by this point in the late 1880s, American brandy was coming on fairly strong. There was quite a bit of it in the marketplace. And French brandy was disappearing from the marketplace because of phylloxera. So now we ice off the shaker. And shake. Okay. Glass ready, and I'm going to double strain. Now, later versions of this cocktail that you see in other cocktail books also include maraschino, so there is precedent for an orange liqueur to be added to this as well, but we're going to go with the original from Jerry. Next up, we're going to move on to what people consider the sidecar. Now, the sidecar first shows up in cocktail books in 1922. It shows up in 2 different cocktail books in 1922, and one of them is this one, The ABCs of Mixing Cocktails by Harry McElhone. The cocktail probably dates to even earlier than that. Most people point to World War I, American servicemen in Paris ordering this cocktail, and this is what they got. And of course, in order to bring the whole story together, the American servicemen worked or were detailed to the motorcycle units, so they all had sidecars. You know, cocktail stories are a little bit crazy. Anyway, so Harry's recipe for the sidecar is equal amounts of Cointreau, brandy, and lemon juice. He leaves out the bitters and he leaves out the sugar, I guess leaning heavily on the Cointreau for the sweetness level. When you get into other cocktails going into the 1930s, like this one from the Savoy, the sidecar is a little bit different in the proportions. the ingredients are exactly the same, but the proportions are a little bit different. And when you get into modern day sidecars, the proportions are even different again. So I'm going to make two of them. I'm going to make the original from Harry's book, which is 1 to 1 to 1. And that, again, gets made in this kind of a cocktail glass, again with a rim. There we go. Set that aside, and we'll start mixing. So 1 to 1 to 1. Let's go 1 lemon juice, freshly squozen, of course. 1 Cointreau. And 1 brandy. Ice and shake. And again, I will double strain. Okay, now there's no mention about garnish, but sidecar always seems to get an orange peel. So we'll set that one aside. Now we'll move to what most people would say today is what a sidecar should be. And we'll find out, won't we? So again, I've got a cocktail coupe, orange sugar rim, and we'll mix one up. So we'll start out with 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, 1.5 ounces of cognac, and 1 ounce of Curacao. Could easily be Cointreau. Could easily be Cointreau. So we'll ice and shake just like the other cocktails. Okay, and again, double strain into our cocktail glass.
Hey, Glenn.
Hey, Jules.
Hey, friends.
Okay.
Well, 3 is not our usual number.
No, 3 is not the usual number. 3 is not the usual number. So this one still gets...
It makes it more difficult. It's not an either or.
Nope, not today. Another orange peel. I give you 2 versions of the sidecar and Jerry Thomas's Brandy Crusta.
They look great.
Okay,
That's very pleasant.
try them all.
That's very pleasant.
Try them all. Well,
It's a little orangier. Orangier? Is that a real word?
okay, on first impression, which one is your favorite?
I think this one.
Me too.
You know, you can't always just choose it because I do.
No, I think that's my favorite. I find this one unbalanced. I think this one is balanced. This one has a more lemony. I get a real hit of orange on my nose when I bring this one up.
That one's still a very pleasant drink.
Yes.
Let me
I would
stop
say
tasting that one. I want
okay.
that one.
I would say 1, 2, 3. With 1 and 2, I would order a second one of, but the third one I would never order again.
Yeah, this one, that little bit of orange in this one, well, I don't know if it's a little bit, but there's a little bit more orange flavor in that gives you just I guess 2 fruits are better than 1. I don't know. Is this one just lemon?
No, it has. Oh, let me get the. You know, you start mixing drinks and you can't remember what's in them, right? Let me see.
Sure.
So this is orange bitters, brandy, curacao, and lemon juice. This one is
So this one just has orange bitters in it for orange flavor.
yes, yeah.
Or does it?
You know, it has curacao.
Oh, it
in
has
too.
curacao as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one is 1-to-1-to-1 brandy, curacao, lemon.
Okay.
This one is heavier on the cognac, because today, okay, so brandy, all cognac is brandy. Okay, so let's get that. All cognac is brandy. It's just cognac with a really good marketing department. Really, what it comes down to. It's from a very specific part of France, and they stood up and said, "Oh, ours is the best. It's better than all the rest, and so we're going to call it cognac, and nobody else can call it cognac, and we're not going to call it brandy, but it is brandy."
Now that we've had Glan's little.
Oh, well, it's one of those things that, you know, and people, I've had brandies that are better than cognacs.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's so.
But you're gonna make me go head to head?
Yeah, we'll just go head to head. This is an American brandy, and this is a French cognac. And that could be the difference in why I think this one might be unbalanced, because there's so many different flavors.
I feel like I need to clean my mouth with this.
Yeah. Well, that's hot. That's too hot.
This one is a little sweeter.
Yeah, so that's the American brandy, and this is the French cognac. And the French cognac is hot.
I didn't get that, but you know.
40% alcohol, so it's not. And they're both 40. Both 40. And
Neither am I going to be sipping
No.
regularly, no.
and your choice of curacao or orange liqueur will also
Do they all
change.
have, do they have the same, do
No.
they have the same,
So these two have Cointreau.
which two? These two?
These two have Cointreau,
Okay.
and this one has the Ferrand curacao.
Interesting.
So this is sort of the if you're
Starting to run low.
we're starting to run low. If you are, you know, of the current cocktail group, that is the go-to curacao for most people.
Almost got a little more orangey.
Yeah.
It could just be that this one's almost empty.
And-
Is there much difference between them?
We should do a
Like in
tasting.
flavors?
We should do a head-to-head tasting of because the
Because there's a lot of different
orange
curacao
yeah.
and orange flavored liqueurs.
So even though Cointreau doesn't say curacao on the label anymore, when they first started making it in 1849,
Alcohol, sugar, orange peels.
it said curacao on the label, and they later took curacao off the label because they wanted to elevate themselves above all of the curaçaos that were crowding the marketplace. This gets really complicated. So, you know, and I wonder if there were later brandy crustas that had maraschino in it, which is a cherry liqueur.
Ooh.
What would that bring to?
Well, that would add a... That's interesting because that would be that second fruit. Remember
Yeah.
I said, two fruits.
Yes,
I wonder if that little bit of...
would change it.
How much
Yeah.
do you think it needs?
I don't know.
And how much do you think we have in the fridge?
Yeah, no, we don't. Well, we do.
Oh.
We do have lots, but I think this video is getting
Dude,
a
it's
little
done.
long. And then just to okay, so because people call this the sidecar one of the 6 mother cocktails or 6 base cocktails or 6 cocktails. One of the cocktails that they talk about, that several people talk about as being
The next generation?
the next generation, is the Cosmopolitan,
Oh, yes. Okay.
which is made with vodka. I find that very interesting because in this 1933 cocktail book, Cocktails, Their Kicks and Sidekicks, there is a chapter.
A whole chapter.
Okay, so the Cosmopolitan, everyone sort of agrees on the Cosmopolitan because it is a later cocktail. Apparently 1988 is the start of the Cosmopolitan cocktail. 1988. People can point to a book in 1988 and
So
say
that's it?
it's a total 80s cocktail. You know,
It is very...
big shoulder pads.
It is
It's
very 80s.
You know, I can see Tom Cruise down at the dance cave mixing one up. Okay, which is an inside baseball for people who live in Toronto and like the movie Cocktail. Okay, so in this 1933 cocktail book called Cocktails, Their Kicks and Sidekicks, there's a whole chapter called Cosmopolitans.
Interesting.
And in the Cosmopolitan section is a cocktail, the Sidecar. And I have to wonder if the guy,
Brandy
his-
Cointreau, equal parts.
what's his name? Who was the, anyway, I wonder if the bartender who in 1988 coined Cosmopolitan and created that drink knew about this book and the section called Cosmopolitans, because there's no drinks in the Cosmopolitan section called the Cosmopolitan.
No, whiskey special, Stinger, Sidecar, Sours,
Yeah.
Orange Blossom.
Okay, so if you take anything from this, we both think that the 1922 version of the Sidecar, which is 1:1:1 with brandy, an American brandy, and Cointreau, is our favorite. The 1887 version, called the Brandy Crusta, comes a close
Pretty
second,
darn good.
and the more modern version of the Sidecar that most people you find in cocktail books today, called the Perfect Sidecar.
Not so perfect.
Not less than perfect for us. So try different brandies, different cognacs, different curacao, and come up to your own conclusion. I mean, it's all personal choice.
Experimentation.
Yeah, a lot of experimentation.
Way to spend an afternoon.
Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon. I might have another bit of this.